Hey there, Dan Harrison here. And in this video, I'm going to share with you how I grew my coaching business to over $100,000 a month with Instagram ads and Skool. But more honestly, more vulnerably, I'm going to share with you 5 big mistakes that I made that nearly cost me everything. And if you want to put a practical, tangible number to it, cost me $70,000 in monthly recurring revenue. So this is not a little mistake, all right? These mistakes cost me a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of headaches. And my hope is that in sharing this, it might save you time, money, and headaches. And basically, this is the video training that I wish I had seen before I tried to scale and grow my coaching business. All right. And if we've never met before, I used to be a former certified financial planner. I went online in 2016. I quit corporate. And I built my first money coaching business from 2016 to 2019. I built it with a recurring revenue model, and that allowed me to sell it in 2019 and start the company that I have now, which is the Quantum Collective. And underneath this video, you're going to see 2 buttons. One of them should say free course. And that course is the entire playbook for helping coaches and experts and course creators on how to go from zero all the way to $50,000 a month. It has the roadmap. It has the actual course itself, how to create the offer, the content, the ads, the sell by chat, basically everything that I had learned and implemented to build a $100,000 a month coaching business with the updates to the changes and things that I would have done differently. All right, so in this video, I want to share, I've got a couple little slides here, and I want to unpack these 5 big mistakes. And so basically at the start of the year, let me back up one more step. So in 2024, we crushed it, all right? And we were growing and we were scaling, and we won the school games 3 times. And we had a few different communities. We also have some affiliate income, and we were growing. We were scaling. And in fact, if you look January 1st, 2025, if you took our communities and the affiliate income, we were making over $100,000 a month. But here's the thing that I wasn't focused on until way too late. One of the things is that we were only making about 30% profit. I was spending a lot of money on ads. I was spending a lot of money on a team, and I wasn't tracking my money very good. I wasn't being a good steward of my money. And as a result, our profit margins were pretty low. And to be honest, like scaling at this level and size was totally new for me. All right. And one other confession is we were playing to win the school games last year. Like we loved the school games. They were super fun. But our focus was in the wrong spot. All right. And so if you fast forward till now I have made some adjustments and reshifted and realigned my business to be focused more so on profit. But if you look right now, our revenue has dropped by $70,000, almost $70,000 a month in recurring revenue. And that's kind of embarrassing to share, but also I also want to share honestly, like as I'm learning and growing, not like when things are all super rosy. All right. So after realigning and getting clear on the business that I actually wanted, this is where we've kind of come to. Now, here's what's interesting. Our revenue dropped significantly, but our profit margins shot up because we let go of some team members. We looked at all of our subscriptions. We saved money. We started focusing on the right things. And just as an example, right, you could make $100,000 a month, but only have 30% profit margins. And in which case, I've got a little draw thing here. Right? You're only making 30 grand after it's all said and done. Versus you could be making 31,000, significantly less, but it's way more lean and way more profitable and almost be taking home the same amount. All right? So what this looks like is this is me finding my alignment and being clear on what's the kind of business that I actually want to build. And at the start of 2025, I did a video and I was sharing our plans for 2025 and where we were going. And the idea was, we were going to build a $5 million business and we were going to scale. And this was basically right around the time I made my first big mistake, which I'll share in a second. But basically from this first mistake, I started to build the business out of alignment. Basically ever since that moment, it was an uphill battle and grind. All right. And so, this was the kind of financial picture. And in a best case scenario, you were looking at 55% profit margins. And it was because I was going to build it the way that everybody said you should build it. Get the team, setter, closer, spend a bunch of money on ads. And I didn't know any better. And I was just like, yeah, this makes sense. This is how everybody does it. All right. And versus, if you look at the math, the way that we have it set up now, this is so lean and still able to be wildly profitable. And, the projections are to take it from where it is now to 1.5 million, but more importantly, with 88% profit margins. All right. And so if you want to follow this journey, follow me on Instagram. I'll be documenting it at the Dan Harrison. And even like little things like this where, we were spending $3,800 a month on subscriptions and AI tools and all of those other things. And I had my EA go through the credit card statements and get those down to $1,000. All right. Just in subscriptions and softwares. All right. If you're wondering what softwares, these are the main culprits and expenses. Fiducia, Skool, Backpack, Wingman, Commently. Little shout out. These are my faves. All right. So anyways, I just share that to show you this is the main number. Okay, now also let's talk about the mistakes. Okay, we talked a little bit about the numbers. Let's talk about the 5 big mistakes. So the first one that I made was I didn't decide whether or not I wanted a company or a lifestyle business because they're very different models. And I didn't decide, and I was kind of like my one foot in both squares for way too long. And when I got really honest with myself, it's like, I want this to be a lifestyle business. I want this to be a cash flow business. I'm not trying to build a giant company. I'm trying to build a lifestyle business and serve a small group of people. All right. So that was one of the big mistakes, because if you don't make that decision, then every other decision from there is impacted. All right. And they're very different models. So you have to get, I didn't get clear on this, and that cost me a lot of money. The second thing was I didn't trust my own intuition. There was a number of relationships and decisions that I had to make where I had a gut intuitive feeling, and I was like, no, this isn't the right way. And then I let myself get talked into, agreements and direction. Why? Because of my ego and thinking that I was going to grow and I was going to scale, and I listened to my head and got wrapped up in status instead of listening to my intuition and my gut and doing what was true to me, not what would look cool or look good or like what other people were doing. All right. And so that cost me a lot of money. And the minute I stopped listening to my intuition, again, you just start growing the whole business out of alignment, and it compounds on itself. All right. So mistake number 2 is I didn't trust my own intuition, and I started to chase status and make decisions from my ego. Mistake number 3, I was focused on revenue over profit. Revenue sounds cool. $100,000 a month sounds cool. But if you can work way less and pocket the same amount or more, it's not that smart. Okay. And profit is really the only thing that matters at the end of the day. And so I was so focused on just top line revenue and not the actual profitability. And as a result, I spent way more money than I needed to. And I just wasn't a good steward of the money, if I'm really honest. And as a result of that, like everything, I could only grow so far without acknowledging that and becoming a better steward of the money. All right. So focusing on mistake number 3 was I wasn't focused on profit. I was just focused on revenue. Mistake number 4 is this is a model misalignment. So for me, I love selling by chat. Okay. I don't love having a bunch of calls in my calendar. I would much prefer having conversations by chat, voice note, and enrolling people into my programs without sales calls. Now, I thought that if I was going to have a team and I was going to grow and I was going to scale, that I had to go back to doing calls. And that's out of alignment for me. You don't have to. You get to design it how you want. And the minute I flipped back to enrolling and closing by chat, floodgates open again. So this was, just a model misalignment. And you have to choose that, like the way that you attract, the way that you nurture, the way that you deliver, the way that you convert, the way that you scale is all, you want to find the most alignment for all of those so that you can do it consistently and authentically. All right. So for me, closing by chat is a much more preferable conversion process. All right. And mistake number 5 is everything was blended instead of having clear distinction. So we had a few different offers and we do a few different things, and it was all kind of blended into one. And what happened was my coaching was paying for other things that weren't profitable. And so everything started to become heavy. And so one of the mistakes that I made is instead of everything being blended, there need to be boundaries and there needed to be distinctions between how cash flowed. And really what it looked like is creating separate companies for the separate businesses that all existed. And what that looks like is, as we got kind of more clear on what is the Quantum Collective is a group of companies. And these are the things that we do. So we have a free community with products and courses. Okay, this is like its own little thing. Then we run retreats. That's its own little thing. Then we have software and AI system, and that's its own thing. And then we have my coaching, and that's its own thing. And before, these were all kind of blended, all blopped into one thing. But now they're all separate. They're all distinct. They all have their own bank accounts. They all have their own money flows. They all have their own intentions. And that feels way better. All right. So creating distinctions within what it is you're trying to do. Now, this was the model that we kind of realized and came up with. And one of the big problems right now is that we are in a trust recession, and it's just going to get worse with more and more AI. And there's been a lot of bad actors in the coaching space, but probably if you're a coach or you're an expert, you've likely enrolled or onboarded a client who's like, I've been scammed or ripped off before. And so we are in a trust recession, but there's kind of some good news to that in that the market is correcting itself. And so for a lot of people, it's going to get a lot harder and they'll be, kind of removed from the market. Good. But the people who are actually good at what they do and they actually have a niche and a focus, they're going to thrive in this time and space. But you still need to understand that the ingredient that will be required is trust, and that people's skepticism is at an all-time high. And so basically the clarity is, I shared this in January as the whole model. But here, just looking at this, I was like, I can see where there's some out of alignment here. So with this, in the basically what you need in order for this model to work is you need to have traffic, so organic and paid. You need to be able to establish trust. And this is thinking it in terms of your content ecosystem, right? Where you're establishing trust, emails, Instagram, school, workshops, YouTube. There's different ways that you can grow your trust in your ecosystem. And then here, it was move people to a VSL with book a call, but that's out of alignment for me. And then I had a low ticket and a high ticket. And again, this was, when I had a low ticket and a high ticket, everything was split. So I was talking to two different avatars. I had two different offers where really what I wanted was one offer with two different tiers of access. So it's like little distinctions inside of this, but all had an impact and costly mistakes. All right. And so with this trust ecosystem right here, another mistake or way of thinking about it really was I thought, I can run ads and people can come into my system and, they'll nurture and they'll convert whenever they're ready to. And I would think, I'm thinking long term, like somebody comes in and maybe they'll be a client in a year or two from now. Not realizing that it wasn't about the amount of time that passes. It's about how much time they spend consuming your content, right? Maybe it takes a year, but also maybe it just takes 1 hour. So they could consume that 1 hour in, the first week, or they might consume that 1 hour over the course of a year, right? It's about the time with you, with your content, getting to know, like, and trust you. And it doesn't have to be passive. And so as I unpacked what this model is and what the acquisition system looks like, I can say is like a lot more clear, like what does that actually look like? And so basically on the traffic front, we run ads. That's what we do, right? So the title of this video was how I grew to $100,000 a month with Instagram Ads Skool. And so this is the same in the sense that I'm still using Instagram Ads and Skool, but this has now been refined and optimized in the process. So when it comes to running ads, we run two different kinds. We run macro magnet ads and micro magnet ads. So what is that? So a macro magnet ad is what you're watching right now. So this is me sharing the big idea, right? This is kind of the big insight. This is how the whole thing works, so that you can see the model, basically, right? So if you're a health coach or you're a business coach or you're a relationship expert, you probably have a model, something that's like unique, your way of doing things, right? And so this is typically free. So you're just getting leads and you're helping people get insights. Then a micro magnet is a little piece, one little tiny specific piece of your main program that solves a problem that is typically paid. Now, this could be a paid workshop. This could be a paid challenge. This could be a paid resource, course, GPT, but it's something that is paid. And in this way, we're attracting clients. We're getting leads who are opting in for free, and we're getting leads who are paying for something, which is liquidating the ad spend. All right. And so we run both of these, and both of these end up directing people into our school community. So like I said, I was just sharing that whole thing without this visual. So let me back up a second. All right. We've got two processes. We've got macro magnet. We've got micro magnet ads. This macro magnet is showing you the big idea, and the micro magnet is I hope that wasn't too distracting, but I'm sharing with you the model here. And I wasn't intending on editing or doing any fancy footwork with this video, so hope this still makes sense. But essentially, we run ads, right? We have a landing page, and we have a low ticket offer, workshop, challenge, something that people pay for, both of which direct people into the free community. So underneath this video, you'll see the free course. Highly encourage you checking it out, right? You can get access to it here. Join our community. And this is where people get to know, like, and trust us. All right. So we run trust ads, which are basically videos where we direct people towards longer form content or just our Instagram content. And this is where people spend more time with us and get to know, like, and trust us. And then everything moves towards an application. And this is where we'll typically run testimonial ads. And on the other side of the application, you can see our offer. So there should be another button underneath this video that says My Offer Doc. If you wanted to see what working together with me looks like, you can click that, fill out this form. You'll see the offer. Everything's in there. The investment, what you can expect, everything. And if it feels aligned, then we can have a conversation and enroll by chat. No sales call required. We reduce the risk significantly by creating a 30-day love it or leave it option where you're not locked into any long-term payments or commitments. And then we have one offer with 2 different tiers. You can either have one-on-one access or you can have community access. And that's it. And that's the simplest, leanest process that doesn't require salespeople, setters. And this is working so good right now. And it's just lean and it's just simple. All right. So this is the model. Or this is the funnel rather. And here's like something that I want to gripe on here, because everybody always talks about client acquisition. Like, how do you get the clients? But the most important part of this whole funnel is actually this piece right here. And this is really what's at the crux of a micro trust flywheel, meaning that the more clients you work with, like, the focus is on the real thing, which is client results, right? If you can get clients great results and then get testimonials, that's what makes this whole thing actually work and is necessary in this time when the market is correcting and trust is low. You have to be able to actually get your clients good results. And so everybody often wants, the monthly recurring revenue, but the real ingredient of the recurring revenue is relationships and results. If you can get people great results and you can develop great relationships with your clients, that's how you build an actual sustainable business. And so I wanted to include this because not a lot of people talk about, well, what happens after they become a client? And so for us, it's like, we're very clear what happens on day 1, on day 3, on day 7, on day 21. Like, we have a very clear path for people to go through. And all of these little tiny steps here are things that need to get done, and they can be linked to a course, to a template, to a GPT, to help you get these things done so that you actually know what needs to happen and when it needs to happen by in order to get the results, right? This is the most important thing of the business, especially when you're scaling like a lean model, is that you have systems in place that help with fulfillment. And then any one of these can be given away as a micro magnet, right? Any of these would be valuable on their own. KPI tracker, how to do real ads, how to do your bio, how to do a micro magnet, how to set up your delivery, how to hire a video editor. Any of these would be a great micro magnet. So we scaled over $100,000 a month before, but we did it out of alignment. I did it out of alignment. And so over the last 6 months, I have broke everything down in order to simplify and find my own alignment. And that looked like having a bunch of hard conversations, getting really honest with myself and getting really clear about what is the business, what is the life that I actually want. And what I've come to realize is that there are so many different ways to grow these kinds of business. And the most important piece and element is your alignment with like your vision, what it is that you want, not just from the business, but from the lifestyle, and then reverse engineering that so that you can actually build something that's in alignment with what you want instead of just going after, one little goal, making sure that it's in alignment with the bigger picture. And then the process is the process of becoming a leader, is becoming the version of yourself who can achieve these new results, and then building out systems that allow you to scale. And it's an exciting time to be alive and to be building these kinds of businesses with AI. And, what would have been impossible not that long ago, even what gives me more confidence to build this kind of business in this way is because AI is here, because AI is removing a lot of the friction for getting things created and building out systems. And so the possibility of building a 7-figure, AI-powered one-person business with an EA and AI is totally possible. So I'm very excited about it. And I'm going to be sharing the journey as I grow and build this business model for myself, helping anyone else who feels aligned with this. And so if you want to hang out in the Skool community, that's mostly where I'll be documenting the journey. And if you're curious or this model feels aligned for you, you want to have a chat, you can go ahead and check out the offer. But I hope this was helpful. And just as a quick recap on the whole thing, most important piece is being really clear on how you're actually going to get your clients results by having a clear roadmap for them to follow. This is the simple, solo funnel system where you have a macro magnet, which is teaching the big idea, the insight. And you have a micro magnet, which is liquidating the ad spend. You're nurturing people in some sort of a process. For me, I use Skool, but you could do it with email and YouTube. There's lots of different ways to do this, but you need to build trust with people. And then for selling by chat, this, by the way, selling by chat only works with well-nurtured audiences. Don't try to sell by chat if you don't have a relationship, if they haven't spent time with you outside of the chat, all right? And then offer design, super key as well, all right? So that's the funnel. And then this is still the play in the sense that what you need is traffic. We run ads. We have a trust ecosystem, and you're stacking for monthly recurring revenue. All right. These are just our distinctions. 5 big mistakes. Recap. Decide if you want a company or you want a lifestyle business. Listen to your intuition over your ego. Focus on profit, not just revenue. For me, it was building a conversion system that didn't require me to hop on, fill up my calendar, and then making sure that everything is distinct, like having distinctions. If you haven't read the book Profit First, even just creating the distinction between these are business expenses and these are personal expenses is a simpler, maybe more relevant. But if you have multiple businesses or multiple offers, making sure that they're each, distinguished in their own business and their own bank account and their own cash flow, so you can see which ones are profitable and which ones are not. All right. These are 5 mistakes that I have adjusted for, and makes the finances look quite a bit different, but I'm excited about where we're going from here because it feels in a lot more alignment. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the community. Peace out.